Today we are going to talk about the top 10 most terrifying horror movies in the world. Movies so scary that you should never watch them alone. Number 10, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Leatherface is one of the most iconic horror movie villains of all time. What's interesting about this film is that it was shot entirely on a shoestring budget of only $80,000, which is the equivalent of about $500,000 today. But even with its low budget, it grossed over $30 million at the box office. Number 9, Hereditary, 2018. This film is considered to be one of the most terrifying movies ever made, and it gets under your skin in a way that few other films can. What's interesting about Hereditary is that the director, Ari Aster, based the film on his own experiences with his mother, who he says was a heavy drinker and emotionally abusive towards him and his siblings. Number 8, The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. This is the only horror movie to have won the Academy Award for Best Picture. What's interesting about this film is that it was originally going to be produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who had produced several other horror films, including The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. However, he dropped out of the project after reading the script and felt that it was too violent and disturbing. The film was then picked up by producers Mark and Ronald Pierce, who had no experience in the horror genre. Number 7, Sinister, 2012. This film is about a true crime writer who finds a box of home movies that depict a series of brutal murders. What's interesting about Sinister is that the home movies shown in the film are actually snuff films, meaning they depict actual violence against real people. These snuff films were not made for the movie, but were taken from actual snuff films that were being circulated online at the time. Number 6, The Exorcist, 1973. This film is based on the true story of a boy named Roland Hunkeler, who was possessed by a demon. What's interesting about The Exorcist is that it was one of the first horror films to use practical effects to create its scares rather than relying on cheap jump scares. This is one of the reasons why it is still considered to be one of the scariest movies ever made. Number 5, Audition, 1999. This Japanese horror film is considered to be one of the most disturbing movies ever made. It is about a widower who holds an audition to find a new wife, but he has no idea that the woman he chooses is a psychopath. What's interesting about Audition is that it was directed by Takashi Miike, who is known for his ultra-violent and controversial films. Number 4, The Conjuring, 2013. This film is based on the true story of the Perron family, who were terrorized by a demonic entity in their new home. What's interesting about The Conjuring is that it was the highest-grossing horror film of 2013, earning over $319 million worldwide. It also spawned several spin-off films and a TV series. Number 3, Hellraiser, 1987. This film is based on the short story The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. What's interesting about Hellraiser is that the Cenobites, the creatures that are summoned by the puzzle box, are actually supposed to be angels. However, due to the limited budget, they had to be portrayed by humans dressed up in elaborate costumes. Number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. This film is about a group of teenagers who are stalked and murdered by a disfigured man named Freddy Krueger. What's interesting about A Nightmare on Elm Street is that Freddy Krueger is one of the few horror movie villains who is actually sympathetic. He was once a human being, but was turned into a monster when the police beat him up so badly that he died. And number 1, Ringu, 1998. This Japanese horror film is considered to be one of the most influential horror movies ever made. It is about a journalist who investigates a videotape that is said to kill anyone who watches it within 7 days. What's interesting about Ring is that it was based on a novel by Koji Suzuki, who wrote the story as a way to explore his fear of technology. That's all for now. See you next time.